Chuuk, which was once called Truk, used to be a very important military base during its time. It was officially named the 4th Fleet Base by the Japanese Imperial Navy in 1939 and later served as the Combined Fleet Base during a big part of World War II. The United States, using strong words, said that Chuuk was the strongest naval base in the Pacific, with only Pearl Harbor being stronger. On February 17th and 18th in 1944, the United States carried out a huge air attack on Chuuk. This aggressive attack quickly reduced the base's importance for military operations. Continuous bombings and submarine attacks kept the base out of use until the war finally ended. Long after the war was over, the people living in Chuuk started seeing more foreign divers coming to explore the sunken ships and planes left underwater from the battles. As the years went by, these mysterious underwater places started to attract divers who were eager to dive and take photos of the big shipwrecks in the beautiful tropical waters. Some divers came for the thrill, while others were looking to collect old war items, taking these artifacts to add to their collections. From 1970 to 2000, the number of divers visiting Chuuk grew a lot, and this changed how the locals saw these deep-sea graves. What were once quiet underwater memorials became busy spots filled with divers from all over the world. Yet, visitors from Japan and the United States often come looking for more than just adventure or old war items. For these visitors, Chuuk and its waters are seen as a sacred place called the battlefield of Chuuk Lagoon. They traveled to these waters not just to dive and see the sunken treasures, but also to pay respects to those who died, whether they were friends or family members who lost their lives there. Some come to reconnect with bonds formed during the war, while others come to pay their respects at the underwater graves of those who suffered during those hard times, mixing an act of remembrance with a look into the sad past. Located in the huge Pacific Ocean, Chuuk is a place where there's very little land, but a lot of water, making it unique on the world map. It's one of the 4 states of the Federated States of Micronesia, together with Yap, Pohnpei, and Kosrae. Chuuk lies about the same distance north as the northern part of Australia and is part of a bigger group of islands. Even though it only has 270 square miles of land, these islands control a massive exclusive economic zone that covers over 1,158,310 square miles of ocean. This huge area, known to Europeans simply as Micronesia, includes Chuuk along with other remote island nations like the Republic of Palau, the Carolinas, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Guam, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, the Republic of Nauru, and the Republic of Kiribati. Often these islands are all called Micronesia, a term that sometimes overlooks the rich variety and detailed histories of these places, making them just small notes in many Western stories. Chuuk itself is made up of a group of islands that show off dramatic natural beauty and diverse ecosystems. It includes 19 high islands within Chuuk Lagoon, surrounded by 10 atolls and 225 smaller low coral islands scattered throughout the lagoon. These high islands are actually the tops of underwater volcanoes, and together they cover about 35 square miles. The lagoon, a big geographical feature, is about 40 miles wide and is ringed by a large coral reef that stretches around 820 square miles. The difference between Chuuk's small land area and its huge ocean area shows both challenges and opportunities. Its ocean territory, while valuable for both economy and strategy, comes with big challenges, like logistics and protecting the environment. The local government always has to find a balance between developing modernly and keeping their cultural heritage, especially when there's pressure from international groups wanting to use its ocean resources. On February 4, 1944, when the United States flew over Chuuk Lagoon, they spotted something almost out of a movie. Nearly 60 ships gathered together. This group included a very large battleship called Musashi, which was the main ship of the Japanese Navy at that time, 2 aircraft carriers, 4 big warships called heavy cruisers, 3 smaller warships called light cruisers, 9 destroyer ships, 2 submarines, and over 30 ships used for transporting goods, fixing other ships, and carrying fuel. This discovery from the air was a big warning for the Japanese because it showed that the Americans might attack soon. Because of this, most of the Japanese ships quickly moved to another place called Palau the next week, leaving behind only the ships that carried goods. The United States didn't waste any time responding. On February 17th and 18th, and again on April 30th and May 1st, 1944, big planes called B-24 and B-29 bombers started attacking Chuuk. They kept coming back to bomb the area almost every few days until August 1945. This long period of bombing, which lasted about 18 months, saw a huge amount of bombs being dropped, a total of 6,878 tons. The bombings caused a lot of death and injuries, over 4,000 Japanese, 120 people from Chuuk, 30 Americans, 2 British, and several other people from places like Nauru, Okinawa, and Korea. In Chuuk Lagoon, the remains of 51 ships show just how destructive the bombings were. Many of these ships were sitting still in the water, unloading things like oil, tanks, sea mines, vehicles, aircraft, military equipment, food, alcohol, and medicines. One of the ships, called Fujikawa Maru, still had Japanese Zero fighter planes, which the Americans knew as Zeke, inside it. Another, the Shinkoku Maru, was a fuel ship that had once fueled the Japanese fleet that attacked Pearl Harbor. And the Ikoku Maru, another transport ship, was destroyed in a big explosion that killed more than 730 people on board. The ships that tried to escape the bombing sank near the edges of the coral reef in a last desperate move. There's also a haunting sight of World War II aircraft at the bottom of the sea, 9 Japanese planes and 1 American plane. During the heavy bombings, about 450 aircraft were destroyed. 416 of these were Japanese planes, mostly destroyed on the ground before they could even take off. The United States lost 26 Navy planes, including types like Helldivers, Hellcats, Kingfishers, Avengers, and 1 Douglas Scout bomber Dauntless. The British, who had an aircraft carrier attacked in June 1945, lost a few planes. There were also 5 to 6 Bomber 24s from the United States Air Force that were shot down. Among the Japanese aircraft resting underwater were Zero fighters, dive bombers, reconnaissance planes, a larger twin-engine bomber, and a big 4-engine seaplane. It's almost ironic that this place, so full of history, now displays the destructive aspects of human conflict. These machines, once powerful emblems of a nation's strength and technological capability, now rest in ruins, overtaken by the relentless forces of nature. Today, Chuuk Lagoon is more than a place of natural beauty. It has become a museum of military history, though a somber one. It serves as a stark, rusting symbol of the grim realities of war. Below the tranquil waters lies a powerful reminder of human mistakes and the temporary nature of what we build. Tourists and history enthusiasts who dive these waters are attracted not just by the historical significance, but also by a sort of morbid curiosity as they explore a vast underwater graveyard. Even though there were efforts to salvage the wrecks in Chuuk Lagoon a few years after World War II, and despite damage from storms and human activities, these remains are surprisingly well preserved, still containing much of their original cargo. Interestingly, the natural environment has played a key role in keeping these sunken ships intact. Many are located between 100 and 200 feet deep, protected by the reef from the changing ocean currents, winds, and waves. These wrecks have turned into habitats for colorful and diverse marine life, earning them the title of one of the great underwater wonders of the world, a phrase that sounds more like a tourism promotion than a tribute to their somber origins. The remains and aircraft in Chuuk Lagoon are protected by the laws of Chuuk, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the United States. The United States has recognized the so-called Japanese fleet, or the Chuuk Lagoon Monument, by making it a National Historic Landmark, and it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Under the laws of Chuuk and the Federated States, disturbing these sites is prohibited, with penalties including fines or imprisonment. The legal protection by the Federated States extends to all terrestrial and underwater artifacts over 30 years old. The diving industry generates about $90,000 annually from permits. Chuuk Lagoon offers divers a fascinating dive experience with its underwater wrecks, surrounded by stunning marine life. These efforts help preserve the wrecks for their historical value and as a vibrant part of the local ecosystem. Would you dive among these historic wrecks in Chuuk Lagoon?